In this video, we'll be going over the 10 best crosshairs you can use in Valorant. What's going on, guys? It's your host, Sergeant Frost, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're going over the 10 best crosshairs everyone should be using. If you feel like your aim has been lacking lately and you could use some extra confidence, try out these 10 crosshairs and you might just see some results. So without further ado, make sure to like and subscribe and let's get into it. Starting with the one that I doubt anyone can really hate. This is just a basic small blue crosshair. It's clean, it's fairly easy to spot at any range, and in front of basically any background. It does the job and it does it well. This type of crosshair is excellent if you aren't completely sure what you want. It's a great baseline and you can change the color to match your style. You can slightly increase the length, width, or gap depending on what you need. It's just an all-around solid crosshair. This crosshair is basically Mario in the Nintendo games. It's just balanced. Make sure to always have at least one of your 15 profiles set to a variant of this. That way, when you're feeling experimental, you can just copy it and then do some fine-tuning on the fly. To set it up, just grab the code from the description below and paste it into your game like so. Or go into your crosshair settings, only inner lines on, then 1, 3, 2, 2. So 1 opacity, 3 length, 2 thickness, and 2 offset. No outlines, no dot, no outer lines, simple as that. Next up, we got something a bit more special though, and that's the new wide crosshair type. Not too long ago, Riot decided to let us change the horizontal and vertical length separately, meaning we don't have to use the 4x3 resolution to give our crosshairs the wider look a lot of you guys prefer. Since Valorant is a game where the horizontal axis is a lot more important than the vertical one, or at least in most scenarios, people like to have the horizontal part of their crosshair take the focus. This crosshair achieves exactly that. By having a horizontal length of 6 and a vertical length of 4 on the inner line section, all of your attention will be drawn to the horizon. Then just set your outlines to 1 opacity, 1 thickness on, or copy the code from below and you're set. You get to frag out like you were on the 4x3 without having a blurry game, and the other downsides of a stretch resolution. Now, before we move on to number 3, which is really a nice dot crosshair, I quickly gotta tell you about our website ProGuides.com. Sure, crosshairs are cool, but if you really want to improve and rank up in Valorant, there's better things out there. Over on ProGuides.com, you'll be able to see top-level guides made by the best pros out there like Tens and Scream. We offer coaching from our top Radiant and Immortal level coaches, and we even have pro boot camps, so that way you can improve the fastest in the shortest amount of time. And for just $8 a month, you get access to everything through our new ProGuides subscription. Make sure to try it out today and reach your true potential. Alright, now for the promised dot, and that's the one that's made popular by Scream, the headshot machine. A lot of people that use a dot crosshair in Valorant aren't really using a dot, more so a small square. But if you're a true dot enjoyer, you'll be pleased to hear that this is in fact a real dot. How, you may ask? Well, it's a bit weird. So we'll just recommend that you copy the code. But here's how it works. Outlines on at 1, 1, dot on at 1, 3, and then also inner lines on at 1, 1, 1, 1. So that's 4 ones. Because of the inner lines, the outline is circular, which, if you're like me, is much better on the eyes. The nice part of this crosshair is that it's easy to see because of the contrast on the outline, even if you have to change the color to something like cyan or yellow. It's big enough to where you won't lose it in game, and it's perfect for those signature one-taps. If you're a headshot demon, chances are this crosshair is perfect for you. At least in my opinion, this crosshair only has one flaw, and that's that it is a bit too big at longer ranges. At close to mid-range, it's perfect. It's easy to see, and you just have to place it on the opponent's head. But at max range fights like Pearl Be Long, this dot will be bigger than the enemy's head, and for me, that's a deal breaker. Fear not though, since there's a fix. Presenting the mini dot. The mini dot is basically a variation from the crosshair of Scream, but it feels very different because it's a lot smaller. You get it by changing the dot size from 1, 3 to 1, 1, and by changing inner lines from 1, 1, 1, 1 to 1, 1, 1, 0, or just copying the code, of course. As you can see, this little crosshair is really nice if you like the dot style, but you don't want to offer up visibility at longer ranges. It breathes precision, and it is still very visible considering its size. I understand that this small dot might not be for everyone, but for those who do like to play dot, I can't recommend it enough. With this crosshair, you're pretty much guaranteed to either top frag with 40 kills, or miss everything for 40 minutes straight and end up with 6. It's a true 50-50, so why not give it a try? Worst case scenario, you change mid-game to one of the other crosshairs mentioned in this video. Now, I know some of you guys feel like all the crosshairs so far on this list were simply too small, but hey, that's fine, there's one for you too. This classic crosshair is basically just an old school one. It's pretty big with the green outline, and the gap is still just big enough to put heads in the middle. Where with the dots and smaller crosshairs, it's almost like it feels like you're putting the crosshair on the enemy. Here, you really just guide your eyes to the middle of your screen and you place the crosshair around the enemies. It's almost a different aiming style, or at least it feels that way. I know for a lot of people, a bigger crosshair can really help. Maybe your eyes wander around your screen as you're checking the map, or you're looking at different things. So if that's the case, make sure to try it out. For settings, outlines on at 1, 1, and then set your inner lines at 1, 6, 2, 4. Code is also below. A true classic for all the OG and non-OG gamers. Before we continue, we of course gotta ask, what's your favorite crosshair? Maybe it's one of the crosshairs we mentioned, or perhaps you're hiding a gem somewhere else. Mine is, well, I put it at the end since it's the best crosshair on this list, so you'll just have to wait and see. Either way, make sure to comment yours and leave the code so that way I can try them out. Now let's continue on with the video. This next crosshair is the smallest one on this list, but it has a great fighter spirit. And on top of that, I like it, so you might too. It's basically a mini version of the crosshair we mentioned first, but in red to make it more noticeable. I know a lot of people like the idea of using a dot, but then when they hop in game, it just doesn't feel right. That's when this crosshair is just perfect. Because it's so small, it has the feel of a dot without you having to commit to actually using one, if that makes sense. All in all, it's just a great option. The settings are simple. You'll only have to worry about inner lines. And you set those to 1, 2, 2, 1. 1 opacity, 2 length, 2 thickness, and 1 offset. Or as always, just copy the code from below, and then you're set. Now, another great option is the Asuna crosshair. It's basically a small white crosshair with a relatively big gap in outlines. If you don't love the last one, maybe because it's a bit hard to see, then this might be the right one for you. Because of the outlines, it's super visible while still being small enough so that it doesn't take up too much space. Asuna is known for using this crosshair, and that's for good reason because it's simply solid. This crosshair really has the best of all worlds, and it's one I usually go back to when I don't know what else to pick. It's a bit similar to the classic crosshair in the sense that the gap is bigger, so you put heads in your crosshair rather than your crosshair on heads, which is a style I usually enjoy, so give it a try. To set it up, put your outlines on at 1, 1, then for inner lines go 1, 2, 1, 3. 1 opacity, 2 length, 1 width, and 3 offset. Or use the code below. That way you'll be half as good as Asuna guaranteed. Or well, maybe not guaranteed, but you get it. Anyway, next up, something a bit out of the ordinary, but since this is a top 10 list, we felt like we had to include a crosshair for everyone. So here's the best moving crosshair. Now I know most people hate moving crosshairs and for good reason, but this one is actually quite viable. The issue with most moving crosshairs is that it becomes near impossible to actually use really fast. One step and your crosshair is wide open, like it was never even there. Spray 2 bullets, oh look, your crosshair is gone. But this one is not like that. It opens up when you move and also a bit when you shoot, but it's not too extreme. It's elegant, and even though I haven't used a moving crosshair in the last maybe 6 years, it was a fun experience using this one. So if you like moving crosshairs, try this one out. The code is in the description below. Alright, one more to go before my favorite, but don't worry, you're going to want to see this one as well. Most people have either a regular crosshair or a dot, right? But this is something else. By combining both inner and outer lines, this crosshair achieves something really cool. The inner lines are on but set to 0 opacity, which makes the black outline go around something you can't see. This basically wraps your crosshair in a really cool and unique way, which I personally think looks really great. You get it by setting the outlines at 0.8 opacity and 1 thickness. Then inner lines on at 0 opacity, 3 length, 3 thickness, and 4 offset. And lastly, your outer lines are on at 1 opacity, 3 length, 1 thickness, and 3 offset. From there, you can freely experiment with colors, although I mostly recommend colors like green, yellow, and white, as in my opinion, they look the best. Similar to the Asuna crosshair, I kinda just switch to this when I'm not using my go-to. It works really well and looks quite nice. Just copy the code down below and give it a try in game. Now for my personal favorite and the crosshair that I always end up going back to, the white plus crosshair originally used by Cned. The plus looks really clean, it's easy to see, and it works nicely for aiming. I really urge anyone that hasn't tried this crosshair before to try it. If not in white, then there's many different colors this crosshair also works well in. Think yellow, cyan, green, or red. You can even try the different color combinations like yellow-green and green-yellow. I don't know what else to tell you but just to try it out in game. And if you're anything like me, you're gonna love it. For settings, it's simple. Only inner lines need to be on. And for them, you need to set it to 1 opacity, 4 length, 2 width, and 0 offset. Or again, just use the code below. Well guys, that's gonna wrap it up. And if you feel like some changes needed, give them a try. I definitely had a lot of fun making this video, trying out all the different crosshairs, so make sure to give us a like and subscribe. This has been your host Sergeant Frost, and I'll see you all again in the next one.